Beautiful. Nick, when I was going through and plopping together some quick show notes for part of this, I can't remember, and I actually, you would think I would be able to remember these sort of things. Last week, did I mention the fact that my wife has never ate a chili dog? Did we talk about this?
What? No. What's wrong with her? I mean, Katie's a great person, but also what's wrong with her?
I know, like that is probably going to come up in like counseling at some point. Like I can't, I don't know how you can know somebody for so long
and they hide something so fundamental about themselves.
Right, like that. Like I'm pretty sure nowadays the kids, when they do like the Tinders and the other things that the cool kids do, like I gotta imagine like that's one of the questions you have to answer, like in the
profile,
like
probably
like just to check
have you had a chili dog,
it's kind of like,
or is
do I accept the terms
childhood?
and conditions and
right.
have had chili dog?
Did your parents treat you with the love that you deserve as a human being who should have chili dogs? Yes or no?
All right, well, I don't know how long we can drag this on for, so let's start the show.
Hello and welcome to the year.
Oh, okay. Hello and welcome to the year we started a podcast. It's a podcast born from the ashes of last year's podcast.
Phoenix kind of way.
Some might say I've stolen it back, the intro, from the grasps of, I don't know, something. Yeah.
Same.
Like we always say, I am your co-host, Jeff.
And I am your other co-host, Nick.
Yeah, this is a podcast. We're not two continents apart, just one half of one. And we're going to come together and talk about some of the things that are fun and interesting to us. Last time we recorded, I explicitly stated the fact that I was going to be going to a Formula One race on very short notice. And here's what we're going to do, Nick. I'm going to tell you the story because there's lots of things. Okay, so first off, before, like, a little bit more context. Before we started recording, I would have given us going on this trip like a 10% chance of success.
Right.
And while recording was happening, I could see text messages happening. And I glanced occasionally, like a good podcaster, checked my texts mid-recording to see how things were progressing. And like things were getting figured out. Parents were willing to watch kids.
That actually doesn't sound like a good podcaster would do, but I would never check text, so.
No, or type a lot the entire time while we're talking.
What are you talking about? Continue.
Okay. So I just had like this panic attack where I didn't think I was recording, but I am recording. Okay. So we finally figure out that it's going to happen, like right as recording is finishing up, and then I confirm everything after I go upstairs after.
Love it.
And then, so like, we're like, all right, we have childcare. We have all that figured out. Now we need to actually book the things. So we booked everything. First off, booked the race. The qualifying day, so that's on Saturday. After qualifying was over, there is an Ed Sheeran concert that is free with the purchase of the ticket. That's like out there, out in the outdoors. And then Katie's a big Ed Sheeran fan, so that was pretty cool. Get all that figured out, booked, and find like hotels in Austin for that weekend are like $1,000 a night. So opted to go for a much cheaper, somewhat like a little bit too good to be true cheap Airbnb. That was like a couple $100. And
well, the nice thing with that is that you know that those never go wrong. When it's like, oh, why is this so cheap? Don't worry about it. Like kind of thing.
Yeah, and this is where I like edited in like the foreshadowing sound. So
like, just to be clear, you and your wife made it home, right? Like, I'm not talking to you after.
Look, no spoilers. This is a really weird energy to announce.
It really is. I'm just saying I haven't heard from Katie, is all I'm saying.
She hasn't had a flippin' chili dog. She's dead to me anyways.
That's true.
So we get that stuff booked, and like, I kid you not, Nick, we booked and got everything figured out slightly after midnight, and we were on the road 5:30 a.m. the next morning. Yeah, that was a very quick turnaround. Very spontaneous. So we're on the road. Funny thing. So the reason why we got up at 5:30 was because qualifying was at 2 p.m. and we wanted to get there in time to get to qualifying. Like about 30 minutes into the drive, and to do that, like we had to have my mom come over and get the kids at 5 o'clock in the flipping morning. She just stayed at our house so they could stay asleep. And as we had left, I realized that I was looking at the prior day's practice session that started at 2 p.m. The actual qualifying didn't start until like 5 o'clock in the afternoon. So I made my poor mom come over at 5 o'clock in the morning for no reason. But that was fine. That meant that we would be able to check into our Airbnb ahead of time, kind of get settled, and then head out over to the race.
A little tiny bit early. Just a little
bit early. And so honestly, the drive wasn't too bad. We took turns driving so the other person could like take a nap so we, catch up on sleep a little bit.
Yes.
We get to the Airbnb. Now, the nice thing about the Airbnb was, so I guess like the track, which is Circuit of the Americas, that is in Austin. It's kind of like in the middle of nowhere, on the outskirts of Austin, like in the middle of some farm field area. And so we didn't really feel any need to like stay in Austin proper if there were like some stuff on the outskirts. So that's where we got the Airbnb for a reasonable price. It was kind of off the beaten path, but it was toward where the track was. And so like, yeah, that's perfect. So we get there, and it first off, like you turn off onto this road, and it's still paved road, but like you are definitely driving down like into some farm area. Right. I don't know how else to describe it. And
just rural generally.
It's very, well, I mean, I live in Kansas. There's lots of rural. So like I'm familiar, but like even now it's like, it's a little sketchy. Not too bad. Nothing too crazy.
Okay.
And then we go a little bit farther and we pull into the Airbnb, and it's actually like, it looks really cute. Like nothing too bad. Like it's just like a little cabin-ish thing. And it's kind of like in like this interesting area where there's definitely some other like spots that the landowner has turned into like camping spots, so like people could camp there. But one thing that we noticed when we pulled in was about 50 yards away, there was about 60 or 70 cars, many of which were like the classic hippie style vans. And I jokingly told Katie like, wow, yep, this is like a rave in the making, like for sure. But there was nothing crazy going on or whatever, so we check into we get into the Airbnb, we get our stuff unloaded, lay down for just a second, just kind of relax before we head over to the track. Yep. And there's like a couple things that I had to figure out. Like at first we couldn't get the back door to lock, which given all of our new 70 vans worth of friends across the yard, probably
seems important.
I would prefer to leave the door locked if possible.
Right. Seems important.
Given the choice. But like the owner of the Airbnb, they were really responsive, and we got all that figured out and all that. We were only there for, I don't know, maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And then we got all our stuff to take to the track, loaded up, and went to qualifying. The first part, which was especially stressful, was figuring out parking. But ultimately that worked itself out for the low price of $60 flipping. Oh
my God.
Yeah.
I love when parking is like an entire event all its own. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, it's okay. And it's like one of those things where the road that you're going down, like how parking at Circuit of the Americas works, is you can get like $150 parking pass to park at the actual place, but it's in the middle of nowhere in all this farmland. And so all these farmers have parking lots set up where you can pay for parking and just walk to the area. So it's like maybe a half mile, maybe a mile walk, depending on where you are. But it gets to the point and the traffic is so bad that like you really have to just commit to one of the lots, or you might end up completely screwing yourself driving the wrong way on this road. That's going to take you like a half hour. So we went to a place that was like $40, but they only accepted cash, and we're terrible people and didn't have any cash. So then we had to go to the next one. It's like, at this point, I just want to have a parking spot. Like I don't want to miss. I've driven 9.5 hours. Like I don't want to, miss anything for $20 saved on parking. So anyways, we get there. A couple things I noticed right off the bat. I knew that the track would be big, but holy cow, Nick, have you ever been to a racetrack of like a NASCAR F1?
I have not.
So you hear that like the track
I should say I know that it won't be the same. I've been to a motocross track.
Those
are way bigger than you think. Because
Like how big is a tip? Like how long is a typical lap?
I mean, it's been a long time. I wouldn't know offhand how big a typical lap is. It's been a long time. Like I've probably been to a couple, like 2 or 3 as a teenager kind of thing. So not a good frame of reference. But like in my head, I'm like, oh yeah, they're huge. But then I'm like, oh well, motocrosses go fast, but they don't go 200 miles an hour F1 speed.
Right. So here's what I've known this to be true, but you don't really internalize it until you're there in person. A single lap at Coda, the place in Austin, it is almost 3.5 miles long.
Sheesh.
And there are grandstands and seating all along that 3.5 mile stretch.
Right.
But also like there's like really cool like food courts and food truck stuff and all kinds of things. And so we found out by doing this on that first day, we were trying to find a place because we just did general admission which basically means you find a place to sit on the ground or bring a lawn chair and sit on the ground.
Right.
So you enter, like where we entered on turn 1 out of 20, and we walked all the way to turn 11. That was 7 miles of us walking to find a good spot. And we just like would watch qualifying, and then how qualifying works in F1 is like they have a session that's like 20 minutes long, and then there's like a 10-minute or 15-minute break, and then another session, and just keeps going. And we got there plenty early to like scope out the first set of the first spot, and then we had a lot of time before the Ed Sheeran concert, and so we stayed afterwards to find. But yeah, we walked all the way up and got basically to the halfway point and found a place that we really liked. And then we waited in the heat for a very long time for the Ed Sheeran concert, which was fun. I'm not a big Ed Sheeran fan, but I will say the guy is very talented.
There's like an element of like a lot of really good pop artists that like I'm not a pop music guy. I'm not like a pop hater. I'm not I try not to be a snob about anything, but like most of those guys will put on a good performance, right? Like they're bringing a lot of energy. If they're super successful, they're probably bringing a lot of energy, even if they are a very produced sound. Sorry.
Yeah. Well, and like what is really cool about Ed, you're 100% right. And what's really cool about Sheeran is when he performs, he is the only person on stage, and he like does the guitar like looping for every track.
Yes.
Like, and so like the first like minute of the song is him just like laying down like the different parts of the song, and then he actually performs the song. And that is just, it's so sneaking impressive to see somebody just do all of the parts live. Like there's no other music, it's just him, but you would never know it. And it's just so cool.
Could musicians who can play everything just stop and like leave like a little for the rest of us? Like
I know
you make me seem even more incompetent than I already am. So you like, if you could stop that, it would be cool. I'd be into that.
So anyways, it was very long. And then we had to, walk, the other, well, I mean, so we walked 3.5 miles to the back of that and then 3.5 miles back. So, it's not like we walked 14 miles that day. It was just 7 total. So that was a good time. It was probably 9 o'clock at night or so when we, got back to the car, got back to the Airbnb. This was where things got a little interesting. So, our friends across the yard we pulled up, and like you could see just like a big stage and a bunch of flashing lights, and I'm like, oh my gosh, my joke is 100% accurate. I wasn't 100% joking either though, because like it definitely seemed like that's where we were headed. And yes, opened the door from our van, and oh yeah, definitely a rave going on over there. So, like whatever, like it is what it is now. Like we're not going to figure this out tonight. Go back into the Airbnb.
I was thinking Woodstock. Oh my God, I've been bugging you the entire time you've been talking since you said about raves out in the middle of the campgrounds and stuff.
Yes.
And like in the middle, I was like Woodstock, Woodfest. Woodfest is nothing. Woodfield,
mini Woodstock over there.
Woodstock, yes.
Also, when we got to the Airbnb originally, like the artwork up there was very much of that same style. Anyways, not,
which is cool, but also like,
yeah, lots of naked people. Anyways, so we get inside, and we found, I think, probably 12, 14 some odd spiders that we had to kill. Not great. I'm not a big fan of spiders. Katie is definitely not a fan of spiders.
Yeah.
So that wasn't cool. And so at that, and I, you know me, Nick, I'm not one to be confrontational if I don't have to be. But at that point, it had gotten to be 11 o'clock at night almost. It was like maybe 10:40. Like literally, you could feel the rave in our house. Like you could just hear the bass. And they're like, we're over here killing spiders. And so I contacted the Airbnb person. I'm like, hey, like I'm totally fine to pay for tonight, but like, can we just, given these circumstances, like, can we just call it good and, you know, cancel for tomorrow? Because like we were past the cancellation for sure. And she told me like, well, the rave, like, or the music will stop at 11, and then didn't say anything back. And then at 11 o'clock, Airbnb turns off notifications to hosts apparently, or something like that.
Oh, cool.
And so then
Into that.
Yeah, so then we talked in the morning about the situation, and she finally agreed that it's fine. Yes, we can cancel. Didn't apologize for anything. And also told us that she doesn't believe in treating for spiders because the environment or something, which I'm all about the environment or whatever, but like, I don't know. A bunch of spiders in the Airbnb doesn't seem like that would be 100%
Yeah, there's
ideal.
like, yeah. I don't know, you know, what I don't know the circumstances of why, you know, like what the argument there is, but I don't feel like you should be having spiders in your Airbnb.
Or if you are, just make sure you let people know, like, spider friendly or something in the description.
Right.
So we load up, and at this point now we're going to be checking out of the Airbnb, so we get all the way unpacked, get everything back in the van. And Nick, now we are going to the big show. First off, though, we went to buy some lawn chairs because the lawn chairs we had brought were like literally on their last leg, and I'm like, man, I don't want to be going through all of this stuff only to sit on the stupid lawn chair and have it break an hour in, and then we're just going to be sitting on the ground for hours and hours and hours. So bought some new lawn chairs, learned a new trick that we figured out from other people, which is if you don't want to pay for drinks inside the thing, you can smuggle your drinks inside lawn chair bags because they don't check them through the security. They just like put it outside the little metal detector.
Nice.
So definitely stuck it to the man. Saved a few dollars on a few drinks. Got our way, got to our... Oh, and what we decided was this time we were going to walk the opposite direction, since either way we were going to have to walk 3.5 miles. Might as well check out the other side of the track, see if we could find some good spots. Ended up finding a lovely spot that was not super busy, had a great view of the first turn, which in a race is really critical because there's always chaos at the beginning of a race, and you don't want to miss that at your first F1 race. And then there was a big stretch, and one of the last big turns, which a bunch of people online had mentioned that there historically there's been some exciting, you know, spinning out and stuff like that has happened at that turn, and so a potential for some excitement. Race itself was an absolute blast. Oh, one thing I want to mention too, they brought out a bunch of old like 70s F1 cars, and the difference in the noise level, like they used to be so flipping loud back in the day. It is insane how quiet it is now. I mean, it's not. That. It's still loud, but it is nothing. Of course. Like you. I had like Katie would plug her ears when they would come around, and we weren't like overly close to the track. Whereas with the F1 car, like the modern ones, like it's loud, but you don't need ear protection unless you're like literally right on the track.
Right.
But so that was pretty wild. They do a driver parade before the race, which I didn't even know was a thing. So like all the drivers went all the way around the track and like waved at everybody, which is really cool. I was happy to be able to see people before the race. So yeah, the race happens. The first, I guess the one last thing about the track before we talk about anything. In Austin, the first turn is uphill. It's 133 feet uphill into that first turn. And so like, which if you put that into like, that's like a 12, 13 story building that they go up. And it's like, it's extremely steep. And like, I've never seen anything like that in person. Like I would have never, like the video on TV literally doesn't know justice whatsoever. No. It is the most wild thing to see these cars in like literally maybe 2 seconds scale vertically that much. They go up to the top of that turn and then they come down that hill afterwards. It's a very beautiful track. And of course, Nick, we got the fun promised right at the start. There was a crash. Nobody got hurt the entire time. Nobody's gotten hurt at all this year.
Thank goodness.
Good. But yeah, there was a crash right at first turn, so got to experience just the everybody freaking out about the things that are happening, and trying to like scramble around to try to see what all happened. And got to see later on in the race, there was a person who did spin out at that corner and they got stuck in the gravel, and they had to get a big crane and like pick up the car and like carry it out of the track right in front of us, which was so cool.
That is really cool, even though, like, like that's wild. Yeah, dude, that's so cool. That's so good.
And we decided that we were going to cheer for Lewis Hamilton, and he has not won a race all year. He was in second place during a pit stop. The guy who's the Max Verstappen, the guy who's won the championship already this year, he was in first. Had a terrible pit stop though, and so Hamilton ended up being in first by like 15 seconds. And so it was looking for a long time like we were going to see his only win of the season, but then he ended up getting passed by Max at the end. It was kind of a bummer, but
the second place is still good.
Oh, and what was wonderful about it, right? It was the race was fun and exciting. Like honestly, that's all you could ask for.
Yes.
There was a race earlier this year where Max was like 30 seconds ahead the entire flipping race. Like that's not fun at all. Like
no.
Not cool. Got to see a couple other scrapes, just a few good racing things. It was just fun. It was, and like the people around us, like everybody was just so cool. It was a really good time. As the race was clearly going to be over, we decided, so at the end of a Formula One race, they have like a trophy presentation, and then they spray champagne all over each other. And like that's like the tradition. And so we wanted to go find the podium. And the fun thing is, when you're in a place with 400,000 people, your cell phone signal does not work. Like it might say you have signal, but you cannot Google anything. So like the entire race, like you could eventually get like something to go through.
400,000.
Yeah.
Is that right? That's insane.
It was an absolute, which it is spread over like a ton of places, but it's like being at a crazy event, but the event is like over like a 7-mile circumference.
Yeah, I mean, you don't think about it that way either, right? Like, oh man, that's wild. And even then, 400,000 people in a 7-mile radius seems pretty big to me. I mean, I don't know. Like, especially considering the middles. I guess the middle is not populated. So,
right, yeah.
That's crazy, man.
It is very big and very, very crazy. Anyway, so we wanted to go find the podium. We went and left. We could like watch the race a little bit between things here and there just to make sure nothing crazy happened. And then everything basically ended exactly how we left it. So we didn't really miss anything there. We cannot find the stupid podium. We knew approximately where it was, but again, you're talking like I know within a half a mile of where this thing is, and it's kind of hard to see. Your internet's not working, and there's no internet, so there's no Googling. But then we saw some people climb the fence and jump down into the track after the race and start sprinting toward a place. And I'm like, I bet it's that direction. And so we did not climb the fence, but we did sneak in like a little place that we shouldn't have probably been, and then snuck onto the grandstand across from where the podium was because the security guards had left at that point. And so we had like wonderful like perspective of the whole trophy presentation and the spraying of all the champagne at each other. And then also got blasted by, I don't know, a dozen tons of confetti, which was pretty funny. And then Shaq was there.
Shaq was there.
Shaq showed up right as that was happening.
Okay, wait. I know you've been to NBA games. Shaq's huge, right? Shaq's is monstrous in person. I mean, monstrous is wrong. That's
he's
cool.
So big.
It's nuts.
It was one of those things, like it was kind of hard to sometimes see people over the crowd. Shaq was not hard to see over the crowd.
Oh, really? Oh, okay. Yeah, dude.
So Shaq was there. He DJ'd stuff after the presentation. I don't know why, but that's just what Shaq was there doing.
But he was there. He was hanging out.
Which was
really good.
It was cool to randomly see Shaq. Haven't seen Shaq in person.
You know what's crazy, Jeff? Sorry, this is so random. But there's like 50 guys in the NBA that are just Shaq's height. That's not right? You know what I mean? Like, I've never seen you see Shaq and you're like, oh, that human being's bigger than any other human being I've ever seen in my entire life. And then, like, the NBA is just like a club of them. You know, like 60 guys.
It's seriously crazy.
But
Shaq is just a big dude. Like, he's
he really
just big.
It's not just his height too. It's like he's like he's a really big guy, like really big built guy on top of being 7'1". You know?
Right. Yeah.
No, but that's so cool, man. Like what? That sounded like the whole experience was good too. It's just like
it was an absolute blast. Like it was so
good. Sometimes you go to a show and it's like the show is really good, but the rest of it maybe isn't, right? Like the stuff around it is hard to deal with. Sounds like the whole event. I mean, well, I guess your Airbnb was a little funky.
Yeah, the rave was a little weird.
The rave was weird.
Yeah.
The rave outside your house. Like,
Yeah, we didn't go visit it. Maybe it was cool. I don't know.
could be cool. You don't know.
I half like there was like a 2% part of me that was like, man, we should just walk over there, just join it.
What are you doing? Why not? You're on vacation. It's time.
No, absolutely.
When's the next time you're going to a rave, Jeff?
Never have, never will. It'll be fine.
Oh, shocking turn of events.
B-side, Nick. You ready? Ready? It's the
B-side.
B-side of our episode. We definitely did not
I get
record
it.
these at different times. This is one
I get
fluid, flawless. Voice is the same. You're still sick, so still works.
I'm still sick. It still works.
Yeah. So
Good job, us.
if you feel like there's a major energy reset, it's because it's been 3 days since we recorded the last one, I think, depending on how days
But don't
work.
worry, my energy has not reset. It is still low.
Right.
Sorry to all our
It's just-
listeners. Not low, like I'm not gonna bring the good energy for all our
Yeah,
good
we're just
listeners, but
rolling
just
up,
low in
brushing
the...
them along the ground. It's
Yeah, exactly.
all right. We've rolled the Nick Bald over here to today's second half of the episode. Okay, so this won't need an introduction because it will have happened seconds ago episode time. But in addition to doing some Formula One things and and I might have even mentioned this briefly. I think post episode or maybe not at all. It's hard to say. It's hard to remember anything these days. You've been sick, so you can't possibly remember anything. So it'll all be new to you.
I've never really known anything to begin with, though.
So I'm gonna go in soft, and then we're gonna dive into this. It's gonna get a little wild. The more we get into it, I think it'll be a fun trip. So this is another thing that I became aware of in our trip down to Austin. Are you aware of the convenience store Buc-ee's?
No.
Okay,
No.
good. That'll be good for the fun of introducing you to this. So
Can I just say, Buc-ee's has like a very Wisconsin convenience store vibe going to it, and I'm picturing like a freaking beaver with like a really big smile and like a gas station mechanic hat, you know what I mean?
Buddy, did you Google it?
No.
Are you
No.
sure you didn't Google it?
Wait. No, now I'm wondering if like I do know this and I'm just like making up that I don't know. Like, is that
Well,
No,
let's
like-
just go ahead and Google. It's BUC-BUC-EE''S.
Okay.
And I don't want you to get into anything because I don't want you to like ruin any of the fun. But I would imagine
Hold on,
you could
wait.
see the exact thing you kind of described more or less.
Buc-ee's. Sorry, my browser was being a jerk. Yeah, that's exactly what I'm talking about. That's my guy. That's my guy.
I feel like maybe this branding has made it
must-
into your subconscious at some point.
That's what I'm saying. That's like I'm not that prophetic and or that good at like at branding.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm not in touch enough with either the Wisconsin consumer base or the quick mart. Well, I mean, I've spent a lot of money in
Also,
gas stations. Continue.
it's not even Wisconsin whatsoever. So
Why do I keep saying Wisconsin? Because you're in
you're right.
Texas.
Well, you never know. It could be a nationwide chain. We'll get there. We'll get there. Getting ahead of ourselves. So,
Okay.
the founder was Arch Beaver Applin, Beaver being his nickname, and he had a hunting dog named Buck, and also got.
Great
Yeah.
name.
So the obvious name of Buc-ee's, because he also got called Bucky the Beaver as an extension to his nickname. So natural name. And he had a partner, and they opened up their first store in Clute, Texas, in 1982. So in the grand scheme of things, somewhat recent. I mean, we're talking 40 years ago. And then they opened up one new store every single year for the next 20 years or so. Those are some pretty big approximations, but that's a pretty rapid-ish growth for a person who is opening up a new chain of convenience stores. His partner did have a little bit of experience with gas stations and stuff, so like not entirely unaware of all the ins and outs of the business.
Right.
But still, that's pretty big.
Yeah, seems.
Pretty good growth rate. And it was at one point during that initial expansion, they partnered with a guy who does marketing and branding and stuff. And I wish for the life of me I would have written down his name, and I didn't, and then I could not find it again before we were recording. So just know there is marketing guy that they partner with,
Marketing guy.
who comes up with like a brand strategy for Buc-ee's, the gas station convenience store.
Yeah.
And that's where our first part of our story starts to get interesting. So, just I guess a little bit more backstory before we dive into anything here. Bucky's, there's around 40 right now. I think they just opened up a new one in Tennessee, and they're almost all in Texas, but they are starting now to pop up, like in Alabama and Florida, Georgia, Kentucky, South Carolina, like I said, Tennessee. So like there's like it's all around, kind of like from Texas and then along the southern states out east until you get to Florida. But not like a ton. You're still talking, 40 stores at this point. It's been open for 40 years. So how I became aware of this, Nick, if you are driving south on 35, which is the highway that runs all the way from, I don't even know where it starts originally, but like from Wichita down until you get to, all the way to the south of the U.S. So I go through Oklahoma City and through Dallas and then like Waco and then Austin. And along the way, pretty early on, honestly, we started to see signs for Buc-ee's. Now, we've driven south before, but not often do we go far enough south that we get to like Dallas-Fort Worth area. And as we approached the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and maybe there's another one even north and we just didn't notice it, we started noticing all of these signs for this convenience store. And and Nick, like, it's one thing to have signs for a convenience store. Every half mile for like a 10-mile stretch, there was a new sign with like a new clever like little one-liner on it.
Yeah.
And like that gets to be a little bit noticeable. Like, why is there a giant beaver on every single billboard? Like, and they would sometimes be comically close together. Like, there'd be like 4 billboards right in a row, and they're all of this convenience store. So we decided that would be something we'd be interesting in taking a look at as we continue to go further south. And like at this point, we've passed like probably 50 to 70 signs. Like, I don't know what the actual count is. We're talking huge billboards along 35 going south. It was like at that point we were just curious. So I guess if nothing else, lesson learned here: marketing is effective.
Yes.
So to pause in the story, generally speaking, margins in gas stations and convenience stores are fairly low for the main attraction, which is gas. A lot of the actual money made from gas stations is from like the food and drink that they sell. Like, for point of reference, margins on gas are generally like 5 to 10%, somewhere around there. Whereas markup on other goods, like a bag of chips or something, you're going to be talking, somewhere in the 20 to 30% range. And even then, depending on depending on where you are and the amount of volume of inventory that you sell from your actual inside of your store part of your gas station, margins could be fairly tight overall. That's why you see some of them going out of business, especially if you're like in smaller towns and stuff like that. There's just not enough people going in to buy things to keep that place afloat.
Right.
So there are ways around that. So like 7-Eleven is probably one of the biggest gas stations, if not the biggest like gas station convenience store in the United States. I didn't actually look that up, but I just kind of 7-Eleven, Quick Trip, like there's a bunch of really, really big brand names across the U.S.
Well, I assume that's because the margin on all of their food is literally 100%, because it cannot cost anything to put together those taquitos and pizzas. Like, it can't cost any amount of money.
So their strategy...
And I say that with love.
Yeah.
I say that with love. 7-Eleven.
For sure. So their strategy is move as much inventory as possible.
Yes.
Like exactly what you said. Like, move the highest margin inventory as much as possible. So like they oftentimes will have like fresh food things, which, I mean, the margin on those is something crazy. So like their whole strategy is move it as high volume as possible, get people in the door, and then sell them as much food stuff as you can. Buc-ee's went a different strategy. They went in on brand. I don't know how else to describe it other than they went all in.
They made their own like hats and hoodies and
Nick,
probably stuffed animals.
Okay, well, I'll list off some of the things that from my memory and also from Googling that they have. We'll get there. I just want you to. Here's the experience. So you're going through, you see all of these different signs leading up to the prophesied Buc-ee's as you're going down, and really, like, depending on where you're at, you're gonna have been driving for, and in our case, when we finally got there, we've been driving for 8 hours. Like, so like we're a little bit road trip delirious at this point, and it's kind of comical. Like when you see your 79th Buc-ee's sign, you're like, we have to stop at this place. Like, what in the freaking world is going on here? So we get past Waco. It's maybe another 45 minutes past Waco, and we finally see the turnoff for Buc-ee's. One of the first things you see when you are going in is they ban all 18-wheelers from Buc-ee's because they don't want it to seem as if it is a truck stop. Like, it's not a thing for truck stop. This is an actual, gas station convenience store. That said, it is a little intimidating when you first pull in because you would take a guess. It's like, what would you say an average gas station on the side of interstate or whatever would have as far as number of gas pumps?
I mean, like off an interstate, maybe like 8 to 12. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
If you're counting both sides, right? Like,
so Buc-ee's has 120 gas pumps.
Yeah, okay.
Which is a lot. They have 1,000 parking places. Not joking. That's not like, oh man, they have 1,000. They have like literally 1,000 parking places.
Jeff, 1,000 parking. Like, that's a shopping mall. That's not that's not a convenience store. Are you sure? Are you sure they sell like Lay's potato chips and like that's what they do? Are you sure?
So Nick. Again, we'll play this game.
Oh wait. There's a movie theater there. It's sharing it with a movie theater, right? Like it has to be. No. Okay. All right.
One of them does have like a little tubing rafting thing on the river behind it, but that's just an exception. That's not how they usually are. Outside, I noticed this when we first pulled up into ours. There were a lot of, like, how outside of a convenience store you have like a ice freezer or two where you can get some ice. Again, we'll play this game. How many freezers of ice do you think would be a lot of amount of freezers of ice outside?
Well, I can't in my brain think that I've seen more than like 2 in a place, so I would say like, hey, 4 of these guys, it's a lot, right? Unless I'm misthinking what you're talking about.
You are. I can't fathom why they need this. Nick, they have 64 ice freezers outside the front of their building. Dude, it's literally just ice freezer after ice freezer after ice freezer after ice freezer after ice freezer. I don't know. There's so much ice in there, I don't even understand.
Just in case.
They also, like, outside, it's very interesting. Typically, you don't see a gas station selling smokers and barbecue grills outside out the front, but they do.
I feel like there's like a conflict of interest there somehow. Like I don't know what it is. Like there's not actually one, but in my brain it's like no, you're not supposed to sell. Like,
right.
That's for Lowe's. That's for Lowe's and Home Depot.
I mean, I will say that was like the least gas station-y thing I found. Everything else was just gas station to the max.
Right. When you say that there's 64 ice things out front, it's like wait a second, that's just too many. Like that's weird. It's just like why is this gas station so large?
Right. And it is. So it's 50,000 to 60,000 square feet, which is big, but it's not like huge big. Like it's like 3 normal sized gas stations approximately, maybe like somewhere around there. So it's like it's huge for gas station standards, but it's not like you're walking into a Walmart. Like it's more like you're walking into a Dollar General. Like it's nothing too, I mean, maybe a couple Dollar Generals. Like it's nothing too crazy. Anyways, okay, so here's our situation. I finally found a place to get gas in the flipping 120 whatever gas pumps, and Katie went inside to go to the bathroom, get some food or something, like, typical gas station things. And so I'm out there, I fill up the car, and then I park the car in one of the 1,000 parking lots, walk past, 30 ice freezers on my way in. And I walk inside. And Nick, have you ever gone Black Friday shopping?
No, because I worked retail as a Black Friday employee, so I
okay, so you've witnessed Black Friday, and just the density of humans and the haste with which they move and like with purpose and just the chaos. It was I was expecting to walk into a large convenience store. I was not expecting like wall to wall humans going everywhere, like people yelling out food order numbers. And Nick, this mother flippin' beaver was everywhere. Like, I think when you walk in those front doors, if you pause and you could take a panoramic picture, you could probably count north of, tens of thousands of beavers. I'm going to just read some things off, share a couple pictures, and then we'll talk about this a little bit more. So this is a mixture of things from me Googling and then things from my own memory. They have, with that little beaver picture on it, branded cups, shirts, jackets, socks, wine glasses, signs, I said socks already twice.
Can I just say that's a classy wine glass?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Very classy. Beaver-shaped lawn chairs, surfboards, kneeboard things, backpacks, coolers. And Nick, when I say coolers, I don't mean like, oh, there's a cooler that is Beaver branded. There's like 70 different coolers, all Beaver plastered all over them. There's polos, there's magnets, stickers, license plates, keychains, hats, beanies, gloves. There's an hourglass with Bucky inside of it, candles, pictures, inflatable Christmas lawn ornaments, underwear, stuffed animals, dog toys, blankets, towels, footballs, basketballs, water bottles, lunch boxes. There was a globe that said nowhere else but Bucky's on it, pillows, bathing suits, Nick, because that's really what you want is a gas station themed bathing suit. Toothbrushes, shot glasses, and honest
shot glasses are good.
Here's
Big
these
fan.
like little slipper shoes. I have to send this to you because like this is like if you could just copy and paste this 1,000 different times, this is what it felt like. Like this is the subtlety with which they brand their things.
Hit me with it. I'm so here for
messages with Nick. There you go. So like these is just one thing, but like
these is just
like you might have to open original to make. I don't know. It's kind of small,
sorry.
but like there's just describe it for our listeners before. Like what are we looking at here?
I mean, they're like Vans, right? Like you know how Vans shoes, like the slip-ons, are they have the checkerboard pattern, but like all over, right? And how like Gucci puts like stuff, and like Louis Vuitton puts their logo like everywhere. But instead of that, is that little Bucky Beaver everywhere?
like not just a couple.
He's everywhere, bro. He's on the whole thing. He's on the whole shoe. It's a Vans slip-on, but instead of checkerboards, it's a checkerboard of Bucky the Beaver's Bucky face.
Yeah, it's bizarre. And the other thing too is it smells
excellent.
It smells amazing in there because it
smells like fried food, right? It just smells like
so they at the place they smoke a bunch of meat and stuff like that, and so you have like fresh brisket sandwiches and ribs and like all kind it smells amazing. In fact, I think I read something 15% of all of the food or something like that is made like there. So like they have or like from local people that like contract through to them. So like
okay.
They have like a huge wall of all this beef jerky and stuff like that. All of it is Bucky's branded. Like there's like, I mean, literally everything you can find at a gas station, there's a Bucky's version of it.
I love it.
There's other normal stuff too, but there's always an option to have a beaver on
normal stuff's
your
not
stuff.
as interesting. Yeah. Big fan. Love that. Love everything about that. Jeff, I love it so much.
When you've been driving for 8 hours, Nick, and then you go into, again, I'm expecting big gas station. I am not expecting to have like literally gas station and Disney World had a baby and it's Bucky's. Like
gas station and Disney World had a baby. You know, for all those people who thought like, you know, the thing that I'm missing from my gas station is I'm really missing like, you know, like lesser branded things, and I'm missing. I don't even know what I'm saying anymore, Jeff. Just Disney World wasn't the right vibe. Gas station was the right vibe. That's what we were going for.
Yes.
Was gas station vibe.
Yes, that's really what we needed. In addition to all the things I listed off, Nick, you can also buy an entire costume of Bucky. So if you wanted to just be a giant beaver.
It.
And you want to know the frick what I saw when we were Halloween stuff like when we were going trick-or-treating yesterday? A freaking Bucky the Beaver in Benton, Kansas. It was a grown man walking around.
A child at heart who I respect quite a bit. Is what I respect.
A grown man.
That man
walking around in a Bucky's costume. That is the level of cult following that this stupid. Like, can you imagine? What are you gonna dress up for Halloween? A gas station mascot.
Yeah.
Like
as you do. Doesn't everybody do that?
As you do. So I listed off all those things, and then when I was doing some Googling around and looking into things, apparently there is a Bucky's credit card that is issued. Man, no, it's not even the best part, but of course there is. But
of course there is.
It's issued by TDECU, which is Texas Dow Employees Credit Union, and they'll give you 10% off every gallon. Comes with no annual fee. Here's the crazy part. I know 2 people who work at Tedeccu. What? How have they not mentioned this to me? And also, I think very differently of them now.
They describe themselves as working for a for a very professional very professional company that does or a credit union that does very serious work. And what they don't describe is that they do the credit card with the beaver printed on it. That's what they do.
And you know what it is, Nick? It's just a credit card with the beaver printed on it. So.
Yep. I had it nailed. Is it red? Is it red and colorful?
It's red, yellow, and a beaver on it, color? Nick. I mean,
that's crazy. It's wild. Can't believe that's the case. That's wild.
Okay. I mean, a good brand, presence requires something more than anything else, Nick. Do you know what that is?
Beavers.
No, Nick. Well, yes, apparently.
Well, yeah, probably. Right.
It requires lawsuits.
Okay. Let's get to the dark side of Bucky.
Okay, yeah.
Let's get to the side of
there actually are more dark sides, mostly because Bucky's buys cheap land and then makes Bucky's there. And some people don't want to have a Bucky's in their small town. So,
really?
Or near their small town because, if you had a nice quiet life and then you have Disney World gas station in your backyard, like, I don't know. I could see where if you lived in rural Texas where you might not be super excited about that.
You wouldn't be stoked on that? You wouldn't like that? Oh, no? Okay.
Having beavers just everywhere in your town all of a sudden. Okay, here we go. We're going to go through some lawsuits. These are all things that are similar.
I'm so excited.
Similar to Bucky's and I think of all these, they have won every single one of these or they were settled out of court. So I'm going to go least egregious lawsuit and then we'll go to more egregious. So this is the first one. This feels fair enough. So these are 2 gas stations, Bucky's at the top and also Bucky's underneath. So like I could see where, and these are all Texas-based gas stations. So like fair enough. Like you feel like that one's not too egregious.
Yeah. I agree. I think that I think that brands can be a little litigious sometimes, especially if they're the big dog. And but there's also if their name was like Nuckies, you know what I mean? Like it's a little close.
Right. You know what I mean? Okay, I'm not going to lead the witness on any of the rest of these. Here's the next one with Frio the Beaver.
You're really unprofessional with this. But, I'm sorry. I didn't see the sign before. I don't think I heard you say it from before because my Discord was being a jerk. That place is literally called Bucky's.
Yeah, like the bottom one. It's named Bucky's, and it even has the same kind of B style from before.
Yeah, that's 100%. Okay, and then also. Frio Beaver. Okay. Frio Beaver. That's an interesting one.
So what do you give this one as far as a valid lawsuit? Like what do you feel?
I don't really know. I mean, do you have beaver gas stations on lock just because you had the first one? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking like I get it. I get why that's a lawsuit. I'm saying this one's like a 50-50. Like I could be persuaded under the right circumstances that they copied more than it looks like off first glance.
Yeah, and color of the background, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I see the color of the background thing. Yeah.
Okay.
I could be persuaded.
Okay.
I could be persuaded.
All right, we'll go to this one.
Now, Jeff.
what do we see here?
All right, Jeff. So this is an alligator. Choke Canyon Travel Centers. Now I'm checking my thing. Are alligators and beavers closely related? They do both live in the water. Okay. They are both made of carbon, right? Okay. So they got that going.
They have a tongue. That's the same.
They both have
pictured
tongues
even. I mean, you can see both tongues.
Pictured. Yep. They're in a circular stamp style branding image, but I'm going to tell you real quick here. There's not too many other ways to do that, right?
Is logo, yes.
Yeah, it's essentially a logo. Yeah. I'm going to call this one a 1 out of 10.
Okay.
I'm going to say you're reaching real hard here.
And this one I found to be perhaps the most egregious because you know what? They're both wearing hats. Like they're an animal wearing a hat before, right?
Yeah.
This one's a chicken, Nick.
These are 2 chickens. These are 2 chickens, and they actually are not in a circle anymore. They are not. And why is...
I mean, they're chicken.
Actually, our brand has intellectual property of the concept of animals. Actually,
in gas
Jeff,
stations,
yeah.
I guess.
No, actually, Jeff, we have expanded beyond gas stations now. Bucky's is large enough. We're going after Mickey
I think
Mouse.
we're going after
Because-
words that start with a consonant and end with an S. Like, screw you guys.
it's a possibility. It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Well, you do have to understand too, right? Like they are probably the first gas station and or store of any type, business of any type that used a possessive possessive of a name.
But
You know what I mean? To describe the store,
yeah.
to brand the store. So I think they've got that going for them. Actually, I'm gonna call this one a 10 out of 10.
Okay.
Totally valid. Also, please put me out of my misery. Why are we in this world that we are in?
It's
just dumb.
it is so wild. And I had mentioned it before, and it doesn't go with it doesn't come as a big surprise. The thing that they do differently, Nick, they don't worry about the margins on their gas. They definitely do make good margins on their food, but as you might imagine, Bucky's branded everything is marked up considerably, but they have a cult following that just buys the stuff.
So it just happens.
And
So it's fine.
yeah.
Hold on, can I just real quick? I'm sorry to go backwards onto the litigious thing, and I don't mean to harp on this because I know that I bring my negativity here, but I just want you to picture that you go to law school for like years, Okay, you go to law school for years. You have to pass the freaking bar exam. You stress yourself to death. You're freaking out. You're studying all night. Okay. And then you go to work for a crack team. You're like on a freaking huge firm, okay? And your first job is like, okay, so we're gonna sue chicks for having similar branding to our boy Bucky over here.
Oh, man.
That's your job. That's your role in society. Good job studying for 8 years and getting $100,000 in debt, stupid.
Yeah, but I'm sure they'll toss in like
they'll make it back.
They'll toss in a free Bucky's branded wine with a Bucky's branded wine glass that you can just.
I want to see
unwind.
the hat options. I want to see the hat options. I mean, like,
all of them. They're all there, and you could grab a basketball or football to sit in your Bucky's branded lawn chair with it. Nick, I'm telling you, man, it was. I hadn't thought about a combination of Disney World and Bucky's until we started, or a gas station and Disney World until this. Like that is what it was. Like it is like the Disney magic, and you have Mickey Mouse on everything except for it's a beaver and it's a gas station.
So the magic's like maybe a little less magical. I feel like maybe slightly less magical.
It's just it's like all of the magic, just replace it with just bizarre, just unsettling. I don't
know that I'd call this unsettling exactly. It's just
Nick,
like,
when you walk in and there's 2 million beavers everywhere, it's a little unsettling. I don't care.
I mean, okay, that's
I mean, I don't have anything against beavers.
Dude, what is our consumerism, dude? Like, it's so freaking weird. Like, I get Disneyland. We are all children at some point, and we like little cartoons, and like Mickey makes the little kids cry.
But we don't need 64 ice freezers. Like, why?
What is this world, dude? What is this world we live in? Okay, talk to me about the margins and stuff. I actually am interested. I find this stuff like
there wasn't a whole lot more other than they just make a frick ton of money off of their branded merch.
The branded stuff.
So like
as they do.
As opposed to other gas stations that truly just try to move volume of food internally, they have gone all in on brand and then just sell crazily marked up stuff, and that's how they're able to make good profits. So there you go. In addition to turning a lot of inventory, you can also make people love things with a beaver on them. I literally don't understand. Like, look, I love a crazy gas station as much as the next guy, but I can't imagine a world in which I buy a beaver like shaped lawn chair like that.
Dude,
or
I'm looking at photos on Google, and there are so many gas pumps. There's so many gas pumps.
And the crazy thing was, it was packed. Like I had to wait in line to get to a gas pump.
I believe it, dude. And I'm looking at my favorite one here is a broken down truck, the old school style pickup truck, where the bed is
Yep.
The walls on it are wooden, and it's being driven by a giant plushie or stuffed animal freaking Bucky, and there's a bunch of smaller Buckies hanging out the side, stuffing the bed of the van or the truck full. And I love it so much, it hurts my heart, like how much I love it, Jeff. It's so silly.
It is.
This is fantastic.
Also, there's like a whole wall of beaver nuggets, which is their like famous little thing that they've had for forever, which is like a corn puff that has been it's caramelized corn puff. I don't know how else to describe it.
Okay.
And Katie was like, we there's an entire wall of this stuff. It's clearly something that they want you to buy. We have to buy it. Like they would not have so much of this stuff everywhere.
I want you to know that I would 100% be on board with you and Katie and probably have the exact same thought. But also, how simple are we all that we're like, yeah, there's a big wall of them. We should probably buy it. Like that's how it works. They want us to buy it. Obviously, like, yeah, okay, come on, let's decide to buy it.
Here's the thing, Nick. They were so good.
I believe it. Damn it. Oh my gosh.
They were so good that we stopped on the way home and got some more. That's the end. That's the end of the bit. Okay.
Oh my gosh. I love and respect it quite a lot. Dude, okay, hold on. I'm looking at a different photo, and there is just like a boatload of candy in this photo.
Oh yeah, dude. It's like
the scale is
yes, and like they have like a whole line of Bucky's like barbecue sauce. Like I tell you, like I felt like maybe I list off a lot of things. Don't worry, just scroll through Google Images, you'll find more. But,
yeah, dude. What the heck? This place is huge. This is
look, koozies, of course. Yeah, there's 5 different brands of Beaver branded koozies because, of course. All right, Nick.
I love it.
We can't make a podcast out of scrolling through Google Images. If you want to, though, we've tried that and more, I'm sure, on our Patreon-only podcast, which is on the off weeks of this, except for...
The only skill I have is Googling.
Okay.
I don't mean to interrupt you, but...
You don't mean to, but definitely did, because it's not like you didn't know where I was going, so... Anyways, if you want to hear us accidentally interrupt each other and whatever else, you can check that out at patreon.com/TiWasap.
You can also find all of that you can also follow us at TiWasap on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, but not Snapchat. And you can find all of that at TiWasap.com. Nailed it in one.
Got it in one. Didn't even have to look. Anyways, Nick, Formula One fun. Buc-ee's is terrifyingly but good, but also disturbing and Disney-like magic place. Anyways, yeah, that's our typical sign off. I think now this episode was brought to you by Buc-ee's.